grab an umbrella. Yo, 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 welcome to the Juiced Up Show. I'm your host, Jake, Juiced Up Accardo. This is episode 6. Thanks for joining in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Keep on following. We're doing really well, getting a lot of good traction going. So keep on enjoying the content. We're going to try to keep getting better and better each episode. The Juiced Up Show is basically ESPN meets TMZ. We do pop culture, we do sports, anything kind of going on in social media that's worth talking about, clickbait, anything like that. Every week or every episode, we have a rundown of topics we like to talk about that I thought were interesting and that I thought were worth sharing with everybody else. So this week we got some pop culture going on, some NFL, of course, a little bit of boxing, and then at the end, we'll get to our juiced up takes. So the don'ts we don't do politics, we don't do religion. To stay away from those two topics. Why even bother, right? So this week we're going to start with some pop culture. We got our pop culture game on these cue cards. I got a little 1v1, either movies versus movies, actors versus actors, characters from shows versus character from shows. So that's kind of what we're going to play right here to start off. So this is our pop culture game that we created. And first up, we got who played a better fat guy? Doug Heffernan from King of Queens or Mike Biggs from Mike and Molly? All right, Doug. We know Doug. He drove the UPS truck. He was in Queens. He was out there, slanging them boxes, doing his thing. So, Doug had the hard blue-collar job. Mike was a cop in Chicago. He had Molly. They both had black best friends. So, they showed like their diversity. They had a little culture up in that. So, so they both were kind of slimmer in that aspect, and obviously they both were pretty fat dudes. So I'm going to go with Mike Biggs on this one. He was a little more funnier. I like the sense of humor. He got a lot more fat jokes thrown at him. And at the end of the day, he had Carl, and Carl was also classic. So that way we're going to go with Mike Biggs as the better fat guy over Doug Heffernan from King of Queens. Next up, we got, this is a good one. We got Goodfellas versus Casino. I love my mob movies. My mob movies are my favorite. I love any type of, like gangster movies, American Gangster, Goodfellas, Casino, all those types of Bronx Tale, like all those Italian classics. I love all those. This one, we got Goodfellas versus Casino, both based off of actual events, actual facts. We got Vegas, we got New York, and the prime of the mafia, where snitching wasn't really that big yet until it happened. So those were both good movies. Obviously, De Niro and Pesci together. That's a tag team you're not messing with. That's like a WWF tag team champions, like Legion of Doom type shit. You ain't messing with De Niro and Pesci in the same flick back in those days. With Casino, obviously we had the Vegas, the spotlight, the acting, all that stuff. I'm sweating it up in my hot ass garage right now. We have a heat wave going on, and I'm sweating my balls off right now. Anyways, so I'm gonna go with Casino on this one. I like Casino. I like the Pesci character, how he kind of developed, and he basically took over Vegas and made it a stronghold. I like how they showed how they created gambling, because of now where sports gambling is online. That used to be like a taboo, having gambling online or even having a team in Las Vegas. So I'm going to go with Casino on that one as the winner, even though they both were good. And speaking of Casino, we're going to stay with our mob theme. We got Al Pacino versus De Niro, better actor. Woo! Your die-hard movie buffs, your die-hard Italian movie buffs, they could go on all day on this one in the pizzeria, I bet, just having that discussion. I'm going to go with Pacino just because he probably has a little more, better movies under his belt. I really don't know the whole catalog. I'm just going off of a hunch. I'm going to take Pacino over De Niro, though, but hey, that one could go either way. That's a good one. That could be a draw. Drop in the comments who you like in that one, De Niro, or Pacino. Also, let me know if you like Doug Heffernan or Mike Biggs, and if you prefer Goodfellas over Casino, or another Italian movie that you might want to add in there as well. I'd love to hear it in the comments, please. I'd love to hear some feedback. Share your ideas as well. Another one, we got actor versus actor again. We're going Robin Williams versus Jim Carrey. That's a good one right there. They're both kind of the same guys. They play goofy roles. They could play a little bit of serious roles. We've seen also. Obviously, Robin Williams has some mental health going on. I do know I've seen like clips of Jim Carrey's pretty inspirational. He has some pretty like inspirational quotes. But I think I'm gonna go with Robin Williams on this one. I loved Hook. I love that movie. Mrs. Doubtfire is a classic. Obviously, Jim Carrey's got classics up his sleeve as well. But Robin Williams was doing it since like the 80s, so I'm gonna go with Robin Williams. R.I.P. to him as the better actor, even though Jim Carrey is right there as well. So that's another one I love to hear in the comments as well. Let me know what you guys think of that one. All right, we got two more. Who played the dumbest brother? Eric from Boy Meets World or Joey from Blossom? So that's a good one right there. They both were, they were both those like Tiger Teen on the cover magazine types, girls putting their posters on the wall of, Joey Lawrence and Eric Matthews from Boy Meets World. They had some pretty good hair. I'm pretty sure Joey had the mullet going on. He had that whole thing going on for him. So on this one, I'm going to go with Joey Lawrence. He was the original dumb brother. Like I said, he had the whoa. You'll never forget that one. So I'm going to go with Joey Lawrence, who played the dumber big brother in a show. All right. Last but not least, this is a good one. Sketch comedies. We're going SNL versus In Living Color. Now, obviously, SNL is still going. They're still, I guess thriving. I don't really watch it that much anymore, but they definitely had a run in the 80s and 90s where they were like the top echelon, obviously, of sketch comedies. But then you had A Living Color, which was like a different angle. They were more cultural. They obviously were started by the Wayans brothers. They had Jamie Foxx on there. Jim Carrey was on there as Fire Marshal Bill. He kind of got his start into Ace Ventura on there. So I felt like A Living Color, it kind of hit more of like your urban areas. It wasn't really like SNL where it might have been more like middle class white people possibly. So I like those both because they were both good sketch comedies, but they kind of were both hitting different genre of fans. But I'm gonna go with In Living Color because I remember that more fondly watching that as a kid. Like I said, Fire Marshal Bill. They had Homie Don't Play That. Damon Wayans as a clown. So I go with In Living Color just because I have a better recollection of that that sketch comedy as a kid. So In Living Color on that one. I'd love to hear your guys' feedback as well in the comments if it's SNL or In Living Color. If you want to drop one of your better sketches that you liked of them as well, that'd be great. All right, moving on. Yeah. So you guys have heard me in some episodes. My guilty pleasure is 90 Day Fiance. I love that franchise. They had recently come out with a new one called Hunt for Love. So they brought in a group of random people that were never on 90 Day, and then they mixed them in with a group of people that were on 90 Day, and the Hunt for Love was on. They were like Cupid with the arrow. Women were taking dudes' hearts. Dudes were acting like dogs out here. It was a pretty good show. So they mostly, even though they had a bunch of characters on there, you know how they do it for filming and for ratings. They basically, filmed a general set of characters, a general group of characters that they thought had the more interesting storyline. So we had this guy, Cole was a new guy. He ended up with Jen, who dated Tim in 90 Day the Other Way. She was from Colombia. She had that Latina spice on her, hey papi, how we doing? So that was her, and she was also playing Rob, who was on 90 Day Other Way another season. He was with Sophie, who was from England, and they obviously didn't work out. They also went on the Retreat show as well. That didn't work out for them. So Cole and Jen had a little love triangle going on. Rob smashed Jen first. They lived in denial the whole season, but now it's coming out on the tell-all because they have it on video. So that truth's all coming to light now. So that was their little love triangle going on. Jen ended up picking Cole at the end, and Rob he looked like he was a little in his feelings. I ain't gonna lie, because Robbie got them good looks. He thinks he's Rico Suave, light-skinned black guy with the blue eyes, killing the game out here. So Rob was a little bit in his feelings for not getting Jen on that one. He lost out to Cole. Was a little metro, he's like, he wants some wine. How are you? Oh, how are you doing, Tiffany? Like he kind of came off like that a little bit. So, he's a little questionable. Could be a little sugar in that tank. No one knows yet. So that's how that ended up working out. Tiffany from another, I believe she was on 90 Day the Other Way as well. She has a couple baby daddies. One of them was from Africa, South Africa. That was one of the seasons that she was on. She had a couple dudes that were kind of swarming her a little bit. That teetered off at the end of the show. She was with this dude, Carlo, mostly through the show. And then she found out towards like the last couple episodes that he hooked up with another chick, Elise, who was from Miami, who was never on 90 Days. So Carlo and Elise were never actually on 90 Day. They were brought into this show. So Carlo and Tiffany were going tough at it. They were going tough, like they were going to be together. And then towards the end of the show, Carlo does it dirty. He gets with Elise, bang, 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 chitty, chitty, bang, bang. And then that ends up turning Tiffany off, who she ended up picking Rocky with a big ass chin. Dude was looking out there looking like Popeye with his chin. Like this guy had a chin that you could crack walnuts on type shit. So Tiffany ended up going with Rocky. And then Carlo ended up picking Elise after he banged her, dumped her, and then went back to her. And then come to find out on the tell-all, they ain't even together no more anyway. So that shit was all irrelevant. That was never anything anyways. So that's pretty funny. And then the last one was we had Big Fat Colt, who was in a couple episodes. Mama's boy, lived in Vegas with his mommy. They had a falling out. He ended up going into this show. He had no job. He was homeless. But he ends up hooking up with Courtney, who was actually like a money go-getter, but she's like in her mid-30s living at home still, so she's got some of her own issues going on. And my boy Colt breaks his leg during the show, so they create a bond together, and then they end up being together, and he moves to Florida with her. And so that's like kind of what happened at the end of the show, and now they're doing a little tell-all while everyone's just talking shit about each other. Everyone's just ragging on each other, and it's pretty classic. It's like I said, it's my guilty pleasure. I love my 90-Day Fiance. So I just wanted to share that with you guys for a little pop culture. That's called 90-Day Fiance Hunt for Love. You can probably get every episode on HBO Max right now. And they just finished the first episode of the tell-all, and they'll have a second episode coming up next week. But yeah, that's one of my guilty pleasures, 90-Day Fiance. It's not for everybody, but it's for somebody, and I have to share it. So thank you for listening. Thank you for following. All right. Now we're going to switch up to some little football. Omaha. So we're going to go to some football. We're going to pick some, we're going to go over our AFC division winners. And then we're going to go as well as wild card teams that I believe that are going to make it. And then we're going to finish off our fantasy segment. We're going to go over our receivers and tight ends. I know some people already have their drafts, so this is a little bit after the fact, but it can maybe help you in the waiver wire or looking at other options if you don't like how your draft panned out, or maybe you're thinking you're looking a little light on receiver or a little light on tight end. Maybe we can still give you a little tidbits for that, but I do know there's still some drafts coming up. So first off, we're going to go AFC division winners. We got AFC North, AFC South, AFC West, AFC East. We're going to start with the North, work our way down, and then we'll go to the East and the West. So the North, we got the Ravens. In the North, we have the Ravens, Bengals, Browns, and Steelers. Ravens have pretty much dominated this division lately, especially having Lamar Jackson, the way he's been playing. They got Derrick Henry again coming in now into his second year of this offense. Likely is going to be out for a few weeks. Their second tight end, but they still got Mark Andrews. They're pretty deep at receiver with Zay Flowers and a couple other guys they got out there. Defense is pretty stout. They signed a free agent corner. So I'm liking the Ravens to win that division. Steelers got Aaron Rodgers. They made some moves. They got DK Metcalf. I don't really see that gelling how people are thinking it's going to gel. And I think they'll be lucky to even finish third in that division. I can see the Steelers losing that division over the Browns, to be honest, and coming in last place. Bengals, they just finally got Trey Hendrickson signed. Congratulations to him. Basically, just got an allowance. He got a bump in his allowance pretty much. They didn't give him like a long-term deal. They just said, hey, we'll give you a bump in your allowance. Just play one more year, and then you can go do whatever the hell you want to do. So they're kind of a mess. Obviously, we know the Browns quarterback situation. They got Joe Flacco coming in who's stout. But if your O-line sucks, he's kind of a statue back there. So that's kind of how that division looks. We're going to move on to the AFC South now. We got the Colts, Jags, Titans, and Texans in that division. Texans have kind of dominated that division of late. I'm going to stay with the Texans. I know I spoke to some people. They like the Titans because of Cam Ward. But I'm not going to really I'm sure that on film he did great in the preseason. He was probably a great college quarterback as well. But I'm going to stay away from that one. And I'm going to go with the Texans to win that. And I'm liking the Colts as one of my wild card teams. So I'm liking the Texans to win the South. Colts to win the wild card. I think the Colts with Danny Dimes starting right now, he can really hold them steady. He has made the playoffs before. They have won a playoff game. So I like Danny Dimes at the Colts starting quarterback and the Colts at wild card and the Texans winning that division. AFC West. I'm going to actually, I'm a big Chargers fan. I always believe they can win it every year, but they'll let you down. But I'm going to go with the Broncos on this one. I think the Broncos can win this division, even though they did lose both games to the Chargers last year. They got J.K. Dobbins. Their O-line is pretty stout. I think it's really going to come on how Bo Nix plays in his second year, if it's going to be a sophomore slump or if it's going to be him playing really well and continuing his progression from his rookie season. So I like the Broncos in that division, and I like the Chargers as the wild card. I got the Chiefs actually not making the playoffs this year, so we'll see if that's even accurate or not. It's pretty bold prediction, but I see the Chiefs looking on the being on the outside looking in this year. So my two wild cards, I got Colts and Chargers, and then on the last one, I got the AFC East. I got the Bills winning that division. Obviously, I think that's a no-brainer. If they don't win it, that would probably be in the likely of Josh Allen getting hurt, I would say, during the season. But the Bills would have to have a monumental meltdown to not win this division. They have the Patriots, Dolphins, and Jets. Dolphins are a mess. They're rotating cornerbacks. The coach doesn't really have a handle on that team anymore, but you never know. Maybe they can pull out of it. And then you got the Jets, who are just basically they're coming with a whole new coaching staff, losing Aaron Rodgers. They brought in Devontae Adams, that didn't work out, so they're definitely in a transition phase. So I don't see them making much noise. Maybe winning 6 to 7 games, possibly. But yeah, so that one I got the Bills winning that division and the Patriots making the wild card, and that's my AFC roundup. So to recap, I got the Ravens winning the North, I got the Texans winning the South, and the Colts are the wild card. I got in the AFC West, I got the Broncos winning that division with the Chargers being the wild card again. And I got the Bills winning the AFC East and the Patriots being the other wild card because now they do 3 since the one seed gets the bye week. Okay, now we're going to switch over to a little bit of fantasy football. We're just going to go over some receivers and some quarterbacks really quick here. And then just kind of let you know how I feel about this list. Again, this is a list from ESPN. You can always use Yahoo or CBS to get a better idea. They're all pretty much accurate and the same, so that kind of will show you where they're at. So receiver, obviously Jamar Chase is ranked number 1. We have Justin Jefferson. We have CeeDee Lamb, Puka, Malik Neighbors, also Amon St. Brown, Nico Collins, Brian Thomas from Jacksonville. He played really good as a rookie last year. I think he was also from LSU possibly. And then we got A.J. Brown, Drake London to round out the top 10, followed by Ladd, T. Higgins, and Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's a big red flag that he's definitely not getting along with the coach right now. Him and Tua are on the same page. They've had a lot of beef during this offseason, so we'll see how they progress. Devontae Adams is going to be a good one now with the Rams, depending on how Matthew Stafford's health is. If he can stay healthy with him and Puka, they have a pretty good team. They have a decent tight end. They just signed Kyron Williams. I know a lot of people aren't high on him, but he is a decent runner. He'll get you some yards. It's just him fumbling at the wrong times. Ladd McConkey at number 11. That's my Charger, so I got to bring up the Charger. With them having Keenan Allen now to open up the underneath game, hopefully that can open up some more top stuff for Ladd and get some more maybe one-on-one options for him. So I like Ladd. Nico he's good with Stroud. Obviously, durability is an issue for him. He has been kind of nicked up the last couple seasons, as well as Puka has too. Puka does get a lot of carries. He gets a lot of touches. They use him like Cooper Kupp a lot. So that's that would be the only red flag on Puka is how many touches he gets and just the injury option. Obviously, JJ from Minnesota, Justin Jefferson, he's got the hamstring injury. Those can kind of linger, so you want to keep an eye on that. But it wouldn't really scare me away. He's been off this whole preseason. He's also, they have the week off in between the first game, so I think he'll be good to go. Amon St. Brown, we've talked about the Lions in a couple episodes. They've got a new coordinator, so that's the only really red flag I see with him. Other than that, as long as if they keep everything kind of going the same, calling the plays the same, I think they should be okay as well. Some sleepers is Jackson Smith-Njigba from Seattle. I probably butchered his name. I'm sorry, my guy. But now with the DK gone, he's going to get some more reps. He's going to get some more looks. So that's a good sleeper to look at. And then also, I just saw his name on here. Mike Evans with Tampa. He's going to be a good one. McMillan's a little banged up right now. He had the neck injury. I don't know how long he's going to be out for. I think they just reactivated Godwin off PUP. So he's going to take a little time to get his feet under him. But Mike Evans is always a good pick. He's always a reliable pick. You can't go wrong picking him. So he's always a good one too. Those are receivers. You can go to ESPN.com under their fantasy tab and check that out. Next up, we got the tight ends. We got Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, George Kittle, Sam Laporta, TJ Hawkinson, Travis Kelce, Njoku, Mark Andrews, Evan Ingram, Tucker Kraft at 10. I don't have a problem with this list. I would just switch Hawkinson with Mark Andrews. I think Mark Andrews is going to get a lot of touches. I think he will get a lot of balls, especially with the running game, having Derrick Henry now. You can't double everybody on that team. So they got a lot of weapons, and especially also another one is Lamar running. That's always a fear to go with. So that's the only thing I would really switch on the tight end list. I like the list a lot. I wouldn't mind if Kittles was 1 and they put Brock Bowers at 3. But other than that, I think this list is pretty good. Sleeper tight ends, I'm going with, if you want a sleeper tight end, I think Tyler Warren with Indy might be a good one. Danny Dimes could possibly use him. or maybe even Colston Loveland with Chicago. But other than that, I think the tight end list was pretty good, so you guys can check that out as well. All right, our first boxing segment. Talking some boxing here. So we got Terrence Bud Crawford. He'll be fighting Saul Canelo Alvarez on September 13th in Las Vegas. This is going to be a great fight. Both fighters have really good records. Bud Crawford's coming in at 41-0 with 31 KOs. Alvarez is coming in at 63-2-2. So he's got some fights under his belt, man. And there's probably those fights in Mexico that were off the books too that no one knows about. So this guy probably has about 80 fights under his belt. So I think this is going to be a great fight. Looking at the numbers, Bud's reach is he's coming in at height at 5'8", reach is 74. He's coming up in weight class. He was a super middleweight. He also fights southpaw, so he fights left-handed. So his right hand's in the front. And then we got Canelo, who's an orthodox fighter. His left hand's in the front. So Bud's right hand's in the front because he's left-handed. Canelo's left hand's in the front because he's orthodox, which means a natural style. He's coming in at 5'7". His reach is about 70.5. So Canelo has the advantage of weight because Bud's going up 2 weight classes. But Bud never really his game's not really a power game. He's more of like precise punching, moving and getting to the right angles to hit you. So he's not going to stand in front of you and slug it out. He's going to move his feet. He's going to be bobbing his head. And so Canelo's going to really have to work his angles and cut off the ring a little bit to make the fight shorter and keep the fight in the middle, or maybe get the fight into the corners or to the ropes. But I think this is going to be a great fight. I like Bud Crawford just because of less fights under his belt, and the last time he fought was a while ago. So I think I like this fight either to be a draw or Bud to take it. Either way, I see a rematch. I know depending on how the fight goes, I do see a rematch in the future because that's usually how boxing does go. And this is the stuff I like. See, like, this isn't saturated. Like, yeah, obviously Canelo's had a lot of fights, but they don't have a lot of big cards in boxing. When they have big cards, I'm drawn to it. I barely even follow boxing, but I know who Bud Crawford is and I know who Canelo is. And I couldn't even name 3 UFC fighters. So that just shows you right there that when it comes to big events and putting on big pay-per-views and making big money, boxing still has it. And that's why Dana White's actually promoting this fight, is because he knows boxing is big money. And so I like this fight a lot. I think it's going to be a great fight. People have been waiting for it. And this is for Canelo's unified belt. So if Bud wins this one, he'll have another championship belt. He'll be the undisputed champion in this weight class. So I think this is going to be a great fight. I can see it going all 12 rounds. I don't see anyone really getting knocked out. First 3 rounds is going to be a lot of touch and go. A lot of them just feeling each other out. But I think it's going to be a great fight. All right. So now at the end of the show, it's the Juiced Up takes. We got a couple good ones today. We got Lil Nas X running around in his whitey tighties in LA with some white cowboy boots on. My boy Lil Nas X was out here wilding out. He was looking like Smokey on Friday. He was out there looking like Smokey on Friday, running around in his whitey tighties. And the whitey tighties were clean though. I didn't even know people wore underwear like that still, or if they even made them. But he had the OG BVD whitey tighties on, running around in some white ass boots, looking like an almond bar. This fool. So basically, Lil X, the singer, he's obviously he's homosexual. He's been very vocal about that, very open. He was caught in LA running around downtown with his undies on. They held him in jail overnight or over the weekend. He was just released. His dad is quoted saying that he wasn't on any drugs. So I don't ever recall being high on life and running around downtown LA or in LA in my whitey tighties. Maybe he went for a jog and he was on a runner's high. But my boy Lil Nas X is out here looking like Smokey from Friday, running around his whitey tighties all up in Debo's chicken coop and shit. So that was a pretty funny story I wanted to share with you guys. Lil Nas X on the Juiced Up takes. Oh man. Next one I came across. This is pretty classic. Now I've heard of like Carnival cruise ship. They're like they're like the ghetto of the cruise ships. They're like the Spirit Airlines of cruise ships. So there was a brawl on one of the Carnival cruise ships. It was over chicken tendies. Just watch the video. It was pretty ridiculous. This goes back to my having public meltdowns, and especially having a meltdown on a cruise ship. Like, you're going to run into people. You're going to see someone that you had beef with or that you got aggro with. There's no avoiding it. You're on a fucking boat. So to have a meltdown on a cruise ship is pretty embarrassing. It went viral. And that goes back to me saying you got to watch these public meltdowns, and especially when you're fighting over chicken tendies. Like, what are you really mad about? There's something else deep. There's some other rooted deep issues with you if you're fighting over chicken tendies. That's just my personal opinion, and that's my juiced up takes for today. I hope you enjoyed this show. The juice has been squeezed. Episode 7, we're going to do AFC division winners, AFC wild card. We're going to give our Super Bowl predictions. We'll talk a little more pop culture. We might talk more boxing. We'll see what's going on with that. We do have the Jake Paul fight. That's a little ways out in November, so we might hold off on that. But we'll be talking some football opening day. We'll go over our predictions, our betting picks as well. And that's our show for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. The juice has been squeezed. Thank you very much. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button.